Welcome to Coppercrazy. It's Alison here. I'm going to be making a stunning 7-wire braided copper cuff bracelet in this beginner tutorial. So let's get cracking. Let's start off with our hook. We're going to be needing quite a bit of space. I'm going to move this table away because we're going to be swinging wires at 360 degrees. So I'm going to start with the wire. I am working with half hard salvaged wire. It is 16 gauge, 80 centimeters, three lengths. We're going to fold them in half over the hook, and we will end up with 6 40 centimeter lengths. My center core wire is 40 centimeters. I've made it a little bit longer because it's going to help me secure the wire on the hook. We also need to secure, stabilize this center core wire, and I'm going to be using a vise. There are other methods. I'll discuss that when we get to that. Because this pattern has a tendency to twist. As you're twisting around the center core wire, the whole pattern is twisting. So stabilizing that center core wire definitely does help. Right, so 16 gauge there. I might need an extra little piece of wire just to secure those wires nicely, because I want it nice and tight. Then a little piece of string or wire just to measure your cuff size. So that is the material. On the tools side, I'm going to use just a little light chasing hammer in case there's any wires that are slightly out of place from the braid, and I'll just tap them straight. So I'm not hammering heavily at all. I'm just going to be tapping. Side cutters, a pair of pliers. If you haven't got nylon pliers, use some shrink tape or put some insulation over the jaws just to protect your wires, because as this pattern twists, we're going to be correcting it continuously, and we don't want to scar the wires. Then a file. You'll need a little flat surface like an anvil, so when we do tap any wires into place, you've got a nice flat surface. I am going to finish these cuff ends off with super glue and baking soda. So polishing it, I've got a little piece of sandpaper if necessary. We probably will need that. It's just wet 220 and a little buffing pad and a polishing pad if you don't have a polisher. To shape the bracelet, if you don't have a mandrel, grab something circular, round, cup, mug. Failed resin project, also good thing for to bend the cuff ends with this pipe. Now we're going to get to this. This is absolutely beautiful. I've seen it in the local craft markets around here, but it's always hammered and flattened, and it's never just left in the natural sort of pattern like the soft curves and waves. So the intention here is to take our seventh wire and secure it to a hook. I said I was going to use the vise. Because it's a beginner tutorial, I'm just going to use a hook at the end of the wire to secure it. I'll show you the hook now, and we're going to be using this very, very same pattern, but twisting it around the core wire. The vise, you could, if you do have a vise, you can basically secure your wire. Let me just push it closer onto the vise, okay? But we're not going to do that today. I'm going to insert a hook here. So just make yourself a little hook on the end of this, so you can just hook it onto there. Okay, put it underneath and just give it a nice lot of tension, nice and tight. Might seem excessive now, but it gets quite wobbly. Right, and we can fire away. So same as the 6 braid, 2 on the top, these 2 that we've just twisted, and you're going to take your top one, swing it over, and If you wanted to use your right um, top wire and go over the top, all it's going to do is swing your pattern. So instead of your pattern running that way, it's now going to run that way. Right, because we're now going to, instead of twisting that wire over there, we're actually going to coil it around the center core wire. Okay, so stand, follow that wire again, top right, under, and follow this wire again. Get them out the way. And we're going to, instead of twisting, we are now going to coil. So use your fingers, your thumbs, your fingers, and coil that up, pushing backwards towards the hook slightly to get a nice, you don't want a big gap in there. And we're just going to go around twice. So you're going to do 360. Instead of doing like with the twist, you did 180. You're now going 360 right around. Okay, top, follow that wire, bottom, follow that wire, that wire, that one. Tension, push in, and coil. 1, 2. Pull, nice, lot of tension, and 1, 2. You could use 1 coil, 3 coils, just to get a little bit of variation. This is slightly more compact. It's a nice two coils is nice. And you're going to see it's got a tendency to twist. So every now and again when you see it is twisting, straighten it up a little bit. See that your wires are all lined up nicely on the same sort of plane, and give it a twist back to where it's supposed to be. This is one of the reasons why I like to make my wire slightly longer, is when you start getting near the end, you need to pull tension and it gets a little bit awkward. So just bear that in mind. And when you reach the end, your wires are usually work hardened, so it makes it a bit worse. Snip that off there. Snip it off there. There we go. So there's a little bit of tapping to do. I'm going to get the anvil, little chasing hammer. Not that we're going to chase anything, it's just because it's light and I don't want to damage the copper. And I'm nipping it off a little bit longer, in case the pattern is a little bit uneven somewhere. I can still have a little bit of a choice if I need to move up or down. Or okay, as I said, it doesn't have to be a chasing hammer, but just gently go along and tap it. And I don't think we need to anneal. I'm going to see now. If they're falling into place nicely, we won't anneal. Okay, then what I suggest you do is right at the end, go eye level with your flat surface. Take your hammer and just check that everything is lined up. Tap, tap, tap it into place without scoring it. I think that pretty much does it. I don't have to anneal. Check that it's not twisting, check that it's lying nice and straight. And then we can nip it off to size and we can finish the cuff ends. Let's see that these end wires are fitting nicely. There's no huge gaps. We're going to use super glue and baking soda. It's a beginner tutorial. I'm presuming you don't have soldering facilities. And if you want to ever make a nice little cuff bracelet for yourself, and there's no limitations here, just a bit of super glue and baking soda, and it makes a very strong bond. Baking soda acts as a matrix just to fill up the gaps. Just going to make sure that this is nice and dry. Go with the pattern, file with the pattern.
Okay, just give that a little sanding. And then what we'll do is we'll put a drop of super glue on the top of that there just to give it a little bit of a sheen. Okay, I've done the other one. Save a bit of time. Just drop of super glue on there. Okay, because we didn't anneal this, I'm not going to put it in the salt and vinegar like I said right in the beginning. So we're just going to give this a nice little polish. Let's shape this. I mean, it's a bit like a spring because we didn't anneal.
So there we go, very pretty pattern. I hope this tutorial inspires you to make your own. And if you do, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Until next time.